Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The Daily Mail, London's number one circulation of newspaper, is reporting that the CDC and the FDA altered COVID guidelines and even suppressed findings under political pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bombshell reporting, ladies and gentlemen, and it even points to whistleblowers, the employees, saying that they were fear of retaliation if they spoke up. Greetings, and salutations to all nation. Ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm Rastafari, soldier of Deep Roads TV, and if this is your first time tuning in, hit that red subscribe button, and we're going to have a great relationship. Shocking bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, if I would say so. As the mask comes off worldwide, we are seeing some revealing and controversial documents being sent out here, ladies and gentlemen. The CDC and the FDA officials alter guidance and even suppress findings related to the virus due to the political pressure. A bombshell report suggests, ladies and gentlemen, investigators for the watchdog Government Accountability Office, GAO, spoke to more than dozen directors and managers who worked at the agencies behind the country's pandemic guidance. They unearthed allegations of political influence in scientific reports, raising fears and research was tampered with. In a 37-page report, the GAO warned that neither agents had a system in place to report allegation of political influence. It has said they have failed to train staff how to spot and report this. Whistleblowers said they did not speak up at the time for fear of retaliation because they were unsure how to report the issue, or believe leaders were already aware. This is just the latest in a growing patchwork of reports suggested political influence scientific paper during the pandemic for their own ends. On Tuesday, Biden administration's top medical advisor Anthony Fauci declared the U.S. is now out of the pandemic phase of COVID, citing low cases and hospitalization. But health experts were quick to question the claims, buried at the end of the interview with PBS NewsHour, suggesting he may have blundered his word and should only have said that the nation was in a phase of low hospitalization. In the early phase, the White House was accused of waging a war on science, with then President Donald Trump repeatedly pushing the Center of Disease Control and Prevention report to amend such support his views, as shown in the email made in public by congressional investigation last April. Now, the CDC is facing allegation that they altered the suppressed COVID guidelines to the means and to save lives and shock the world really right now what's really going on. The FDA is facing the same accusation following the approval of blood pathogen treatment early in the pandemic. Hospitals are no longer offering this blood plasma to most patients because it proved little benefits, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the Biden administration to the actual people declared that the United States are now out of pandemic of the COVID-19. A few responded from the CDC and the Food Administration, FDA, stated that, it's, potentially gonna cause a rise in cases. Some of these respondents believe that the potential political influence have resulted in political motive alternative of the public health guidance and delay publication of COVID-related findings. The governmental agency, advocate agency, reported publishing last week looking into the two agencies alongside the National Institute of Health, American Top Research Institute, and the Office of the Assessment, Security of Preparedness and Response in changing the nature of the way they respond to natural disasters and diseases. All of these parts of departments of health and human services, which is in February branded as the high risk or for fraud, mismanagement, or abuse of the government allocated money. In the latest report, they define political influence as political influence seeing the under, they define political influence as political influence seeking to undermine and impartiality and professional judgment. Investigators said that they also set up a anonymous hotline for 2 months, allowing employees to report instances which receive a few calls. No specific case of altering were reported because they advised that they could not reveal this because of confidentiality reasons. But the GAO mentioned in the footnote email made public by congressional investigation last April that were sent between Trump officials and employees of CDCs. They suggested that the agents had had bowed to political pressures over the studies in the morbidity and the mortality weekly reports. Notice that document current trending in the U.S. health. Former scientific advisors to the then President Paul Alexander wrote in the email in 2020 that he had successes in getting the top line in one of the reports changed. He wrote, small victory, but victory nonetheless. Yep. In the first years of the pandemic of FDA was also accused of grossly misrepresenting the official effectiveness of the blood plasma transfusion in hospital COVID patients in New York Times article that was also footnoted by the GAO. It pressed release thousands that the treatment that 35% effective against death, figure which Trump branded tremendous. But scientists were taken aback by the figure which was not mentioned in the official authorization letter or of the 17-page memo written by the scientists. It was also not in the analysis conducted by the Mayo Clinic that was frequently cited. Recently, it was emerged as a transfusion actually provided little bit of patient influence, the influence on COVID itself, and they are now no longer routinely offered by hospital. A state health officials also alleged he had been reassigned after refusing to invest federal money in hydrochloroquine, state news reported, which was previously touted by President Trump for possible, treatment for COVID. Dr. Fauci commented yesterday were quickly blasted by other health officials. However, Dr. Louis Ivers, a global health expert at Harvard, retorting there is a pandemic. The top medical advisor has doubled down on his personal policies of mask wearing and general isolation in spite of his comments yesterday. He declined an invention to the prestigious White House correspondent associate dinner this Saturday because of his individual assessment of my personal risk. He stated the GAO reported made several recommendations to the four agencies in the investigation of political influence. These include the agents setting up a system of reporting political influence and training staff to notice and report it. For the report, they spoke to 2 former CDC director and 4 former FDA director, as well as 17 employees. The GAO pointed out it had not looked into allegation to confirm whether political influence had led to changes to the science. The HHS said it is important to differentiate scientific trained political official engaging in legitimate conduct, management, communication, and use of scientific for political official inappropriate breaching scientific integrity because of political motivations. They also concurred with the recommendation that HHS should ensure that procedures for reporting and addressing potential political influence or interference in science decision making are developed and documented. It agreed that employees should be trained on how to report allegations of inappropriate political influence and interference in the science decision making. It follows a report from a GAO in February which branded the HHS that all four agencies sits under as high risk. They warned of the lack of leadership and preparedness in the department of dealing with either COVID or a Zika virus outbreak alongside natural disasters such as hurricane and wildfire. The HHS is at risk of finance waste, fraud, abuse, mismanagement, and other major shortcomings at this time when it requires. You hear what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? I know the article is long, but it's going into saying that the CDC and the FDA did alter the guidelines. They altered guidelines, so that's why in my last video I said, even if 1 million people contracted and died from COVID, it's still 0.3% of the country's population, and Jamaica, the same thing, still low. So when they came out with these draconian mask mandate for everyone and force people to lose their job or, not to go to school, these things are, to me, a trial run for future pandemics that's going to be coming. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just letting you know, it is out the bag. Everything is out the bag. Everybody is seeing it. A few years ago, people were saying, it's conspiracy theory if you say that, there's a lab theory. And now it's being touted as the most, plausible because they still cannot find a host. And now here the CDC and the FDA, two organizations that we rely on truth information, fair and balanced information, so we could make decisions in going on in our life, saying here that admitting the Daily Mail, which is a London-based, newspaper from back in the 1800s, the number one circulation in London, is reporting here that the CDC and the FDA has altered COVID guidance and has suppressed findings while under political pressure. This is a bombshell reporting, ladies and gentlemen. It also suggests that whistleblowers and employees were in fear of retaliation if they spoke up. Let me know what you make of this, because all these years we've been under a different policy and we have given up a lot of our freeness and we have, submitted to the idea for the good of all, and these people appear to have had some kind of political strategy or some political, ambition behind all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rastafari Soldier. The cat is out the bag and the mask is off our face. What a disgrace. The CDC and the FDA is admitting that they were pressured to alter COVID guidance and also suppress findings while they were under political pressure. Is it not illegal, ladies and gentlemen? It's illegal in my eyesight. John, hit that red subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen, and let me know what you think. Do you think that people should get charged for lying? People should at least lose their job. These are decisions that affect the whole world. John, deception is real.